Before we get started with today's video, I wanted to briefly announce that we have some new merchandise available on the store. We'll be taking a look at some different things. For example, like the Rock Out with Your Sock Out shirt. A couple of color variations are available. And then of course we do have the Adventure Sock, as well as even adding on a coffee mug. I know a lot of people wanted to get just some kind of random stuff as opposed to maybe just clothing. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and check out the section right below the video. It will take you to the direct link, but without further ado, let's get into the video. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about short manning in Pokemon Go / doing solo raids. For whatever reason you are wanting to do this, maybe it's just for a challenge, or it is out of necessity. If you find yourself in like a smaller community and you're saying, you know what would be really helpful is to just know how in the world I can do some of these kind of lower man raids. For example, maybe something like a Rayquaza. Is it possible to do it with 2 people, 3 people? You're gonna need anything and everything possible to be able to make some of those types of challenges happen. And I've seen a couple of videos throughout YouTube that cover individual parts, but nothing that just really brings it all together. I'm also gonna be referencing a couple of other videos that other creators have made just because they have some really good examples, and we'll just be reviewing the footage. So hopefully this video is helpful. First things first, we need to go ahead and talk about some things that you can do ahead of time before you even step into that raid lobby, which you will wait 2 minutes for. Let's just keep that into play. But anyways, all jokes aside, first thing that you'll need to do is to go over to your items. And you're going to notice that the max revives is the third on the screen. It's not necessarily that relevant, but the point is that you will need to delete your smaller potions so that the max revive ends up getting pushed up and it is now available on the main screen. That's very important because it will directly contribute to how successful you will be once you start doing a re-lobby. If the solo or the duo raid or just whatever you're doing does require a re-lobby, you are going to want to have your maximum revives on the screen. That's very important. Secondarily, if we go ahead and go over to the actual battle parties, we're going to have 2 things going on. One, you're going to want to go ahead and get the team setup that you want to use for your solo raid. If you're curious about the best Pokemon to possibly use, and maybe if it is possible if you're trying to do a very extreme one, I would highly recommend using PokeBattler.com. That's something that I personally use on the channel. But regardless of that, you're creating your battle party here, and you want to go ahead and make sure that you do a custom battle party. That way you're not having to spend a lot of time, changing it and everything. And then secondarily, you have something known as the empty party glitch. So what you want to do is go ahead and create yourself a new battle party and do not put any Pokemon in it. This is very important because once you get into the lobby, you're going to be able to do something that will give you an advantage with a couple of seconds. The main way that it works is if the timer runs out of the lobby and you are on your empty party, it ends up bumping the time up past the maximum time allowed. Let's say, for example, up to 185. If you wait about 2 to 3 seconds and then rotate over to your actual battle party that you want to use, once you click join battle, what will end up happening is you will start out much closer to the maximum timer than what you would otherwise. Maybe you've been out there and you've seen where you start 10 seconds late even. This is going to help out with that, cutting it down maybe to where you're at like 177, 178 on a 180 timer. This is going to be a huge deal to be able to save you some time because there's just a lot of issues with it. And then secondarily, you also run into the issue of the timer stopping prematurely with like 5 seconds left. It says time up. So we're trying to avoid all of that. This is going to be the way that you want to do it. So those are going to be the 2 main things that you want to do ahead of time. There's going to be a third tip that's going to have to do with duos and trios, where you're going to want to, for example, put 5 Pokemon in a party as opposed to 6. But we're actually going to be talking about that once we get into the raid. So let's go ahead and review some footage. So we have a video to review by Kato Nolan, known as the Solo Queen, focusing on re-lobbying. There's a bit of an art to it, but we talked a little bit earlier about how you want to have like maximum revives, for example, at the ready so you can transition very quickly. We're going to watch her video and then of course point out a couple of things along the way. So this is going to be her last Rayquaza, and it is about to faint. Once it faints, we're going to have to focus on the relobbying aspect of it. But once you start doing this, it's going to become a little bit more natural to you. So here we go. Now, it's very important to know the placement of the buttons, and then of course, over time, once you practice it, you're going to know it. For example, you have the OK button down at the bottom. Just keep that in mind. That's going to be the first thing that you are going to press. But notice her hands here. She has her thumb ready because she is going to press the OK button, but she's also going to have her hand up top. If you're curious about why, let's go ahead and fast forward the video a little bit and then see. So she has her hands up high, and what she is focusing on doing is trying to hit the button to where you go into the items. So notice, it's trying to throw in the recommended. You do not want to do that. Instead, after you press that OK button, you are going to want to go to items as quickly as you possibly can. Very important. And that's exactly what she does. So she clicks on items, and once she clicks on items, as we talked about, you've got max revives on the screen to where you don't have to scroll, you don't have to do anything like that, and you're going to want to go ahead and select that, and then of course go ahead and heal all of your Pokemon. And because of using the max revives, it ends up 1, reviving them, and then 2, completely healing them. So as you can see, she is back in it, and then she rotated over to the actual battle party that she created. This is going to be a little bit of a mini step to it. If you created yourself an empty party, you may want to have it on the back end of this. That way, you're only having to scroll over a single party to get back to the ones that you want to use. This is easily going to be a pro step, something that I'm personally going to recommend. Obviously, Kato's doing this in action. This is something that you will need to be able to do to be able to accomplish extreme duos, trios, everything like that. I have one last and final tip that I wanted to give you in regards to maybe doing duos, trios. Anytime you're involving more than one person to this, there's going to be an interesting situation where the raid boss regains some of its health. Maybe you've experienced this in solos. I don't know if there's a way to avoid that necessarily unless you have a stand-in person, for example, but here's how we're going to get around this. What ends up happening is if everyone faints at the exact same time and everyone's like, outside not battling the raid boss, what will end up happening is the HP ends up increasing, so you're going to have more damage. That is a huge deal that you're going to have to get around. One way that people have got around it is to change up their different battle party sizes. That way people will technically faint at different times. So for example, let's say that I want to go ahead and be the first one to faint. What I want to do is maybe just put in 5 of them to go up against Rayquaza, and I've got 5, right? Well, if someone else in my party has 6, what will end up happening is I will faint out before they do, theoretically. If everyone's maxed out, it's pretty much going to be exactly the same, right? So I'm going to faint out first, and I'm going to have the time until the next person has their 6th Pokemon faint to be able to get back into the fight. Of course, do the revives and get back in there. As long as someone is battling the raid boss, you will not encounter the HP where it'll just regain its health. You will completely avoid that, which is definitely going to be a big deal if you are focusing on, like I said, anything with, multiple trainers involved with it to do it. So if you are just kind of curious about how to get involved with this type of thing, hopefully this video did provide you some details. I'm sure that there are some extra things that could definitely be covered as well. So what I want to ask is, any of you out there who do a lot of this, definitely put it in the comment section below if you have any additional tips, especially dealing with some of the glitches. So make sure to check out the comment section before you end up completely just turning off the video and moving on to something else, just in case someone can provide some excellent value. Anyways, I hope you did enjoy it. I want to give a huge shout out to Kato Nolan for creating some of those videos, the absolute solo queen. So make sure to go ahead and subscribe to her channel if you're interested in this type of thing. This is going to be a little bit more of an intro to it. But like I said, if you have any questions, any tips, make sure to put it in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. If you want to develop a deeper connection, I would highly recommend you to check out Patreon. We've got a lot of really cool things going on over there. Check out all of these supporters that we have. We are almost up to 100. We are also posting some special content, some behind the scenes work. And if that is the type of thing that interests you, I would highly recommend you to check it out.